Hi everyone, I missed you. After a break, we are back on the It's a Vibe podcast, and I have a good one to share with you today. First and foremost though, thanks so much for being here, sticking around, and continuing with me on this journey. I'm excited to keep just giving out value that could make a difference in your day or even your life. So what had happened was, when you just need like a change, you need like a change of environment. Maybe we can all relate to this, especially seeing as how these past 19 months have gone all over the world. And so this opportunity came up in my life, and I thought, there is no better way to get some inspiration or have some sort of life-changing moment than to go and see the one and only Tony Robbins live. Yup, for the first time ever, I got to see Tony Robbins speak for hours at the Funnel Hacking Live event run by Russell Brunson, Todd Dickerson, and ClickFunnels. Tony was the final keynote speaker of this 4-day amazing event, and of course, he did not disappoint. So on today's episode, I'm going to share with you one of my favorite lessons he shared exclusively with this funnel hacker group at the event. You're not going to want to miss this one, so stick around. Thanks for being here, and let's get into it. This one question completely transformed the way that I look at life. I remember asking myself, how could I possibly ever know what I want to do with my life without ever knowing who I am and why we're even here? And boom, just like that, a new outlook, a new perspective, a new appreciation, a new experience, a new me. Victor Hugo says, nothing is more powerful than an idea whose time has come. You are always just one epiphany away from an idea, a thought, a moment that changes your life forever and helps you find you. It can happen at any time, anywhere, in an instant, just like that. And what a shame it would be if you were too distracted and miss it. The good news is there's a solution to this, and this podcast will help you find it by making sure that you're tuned in and aligned so that you don't ever miss another magical moment that life gives you. Join us as we help you find your epiphany moment, that aha, that meaningful coincidence that starts that new success story you begin to tell yourself every day as you become the main character in your own life and get after your dreams. I'm your host, Bhavika Chauhan, and welcome to the It's a Vibe podcast. Let's get into it. All right, if you're listening to this podcast, then you may be a Tony Robbins fan already. And I have to say, seeing him speak live was an experience of a lifetime. If you ever get a chance to attend a seminar or a talk or event with him, add it to your to-do list because he is truly inspiring. That man is a machine. When he's speaking, he enters a different state, like he's totally in the zone and totally flowing the whole time. He's 100% fully immersed and committed to what he is doing in that very moment. And just witnessing someone with that type of energy can totally change your whole vibe and even your life. I loved him so much. It was something that I will never forget. So of course, I want to share with you some of the insights he shared with all of us and give you the insider scoop to his talk. And he talked for like 5 hours. He went way over his time, but of course, no one was mad at that. And I wish I could tell you all about it, but I wanted to start with this because I found it so interesting and I think it could help a lot of people today. It was a great lesson to learn and important to realize, especially in the times we're in now. So before every single talk that Tony does, he always asks his audience questions. And then he addresses their needs as best he can through what he speaks about. So he had asked the funnel hacker group what they wanted help with the most. And he said he couldn't believe how often this term was brought up and how much people were talking about this specifically and how much it's kind of taken over the lives of so many people. And what he was talking about is imposter syndrome. Have you ever heard of that term? So here's a definition of imposter syndrome from online. It is a psychological pattern in which an individual doubts their skills, talents, or accomplishments and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. And despite external evidence of their competence, those experiencing this phenomenon remain convinced that they are frauds and do not deserve all they have achieved. So basically, imposter syndrome is loosely defined as doubting your own abilities and feeling like you're a fraud even if you're not. And after he brought this up, and I love Tony, he goes, "What the hell are you talking about?" He was so against this term, and I totally see why and agree with him, especially after he explained it this way. And so not to downplay anybody's experience or feelings, but he basically just said that it's just a fancy term for saying you are scared. It's just another term for fear. And the main reason why Tony doesn't like this term is because he's really, really big on language and the words we use and say to each other, but most importantly, the words we say to ourselves. So at the beginning of Tony's career, he trained and practiced NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. And this is more important than most of us realize. Tony Robbins defines NLP as a way of showing how our thoughts affect our behavior. It looks at the ways our brains interpret the signals that they receive and how these interpretations affect what we do. And it specifically focuses on the language we use. It is so important to mind what you say out loud to yourself and inside your head, as it affects your brain and your behavior, whether it's consciously or unconsciously. And they say words cast spells. That's why it's called spelling. So Tony is really big on being mindful of the language you use because it's impacting you constantly. And we all know his famous quote, "Where your focus goes, energy flows." So you want to pay attention to the things you say because that's what you're giving your energy to. So now with imposter syndrome, people are literally identifying and diagnosing themselves with some newly made up syndrome. You are telling yourself you have some sort of syndrome, or somebody else is telling you that you have one. When really at the core or root cause of what this syndrome is, it's just fear and doubt based. And he says, when you break it down, imposter syndrome is simply just believing you are not enough. You don't have a syndrome. You're just scared. You have fear, which is natural. And so the definition of syndrome is a set of medical signs and symptoms which are correlated with each other and often associated with a particular disease or disorder. The disease is fear. The first thing Tony addressed when he got on stage, the first thing he said to thousands of us, his main message at the beginning of his whole entire talk was that you need to stop identifying with fear. He goes on to say that all that stops you is fear. A decision made out of fear is the wrong decision. And he mentioned that the world has been in a state of fear for the past 19 months. And when you're in a state of fear, that's when doubt comes up. That's when you start to doubt yourself, your ability, your hard work, regardless of what is actually happening. That's just fear. Stop feeding into the narrative of fear. Stop telling yourself stories that limit you. Stop coming up with a bunch of different ways to justify your fear. It's okay to be scared, but it's not okay to keep choosing fear. It's just not good for you. And when I look back at my notes from the event, I found this to be so interesting and obviously not a coincidence. So on the very first day of the event, so when everyone was just so pumped and excited, the very beginning of Funnel Hacking Live, when the creator himself, Russell Brunson, came on the stage and he did his opening talk, which blew everyone away, he said this, and he said, you have two choices. You can either choose fear or you can choose faith. He talked about how in any situation, anytime you have choices, you can move out of faith or you can move out of fear. So when do you think you make better choices for yourself, for your family, or for your life? When you're in a state of fear or when you have faith that it could all work out? You see, fear traps you. It downplays your greatness and prevents you from being you. And that's when you feel like you're an imposter. but faith moves you forward. And so what I kind of want to wrap this up with was another thing that Tony said that I absolutely loved. And he said that life equals risk. If you have no risk, you have no life. So if you live in fear, do you think you're going to take any risks? And if you don't take any risks, do you think you're even living life? Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to take risks. Don't give in to fear. Fear is just an illusion. I've actually heard it as an acronym. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Fear is just something your mind makes up to keep you safe. And most importantly, don't call yourself an imposter or tell yourself or anyone that you have some sort of syndrome. It's just fear-based thoughts and actions. Nothing is wrong with you, so don't treat yourself that way. Don't treat yourself like you have some sort of disease or disorder. It's just fearful thoughts that are overtaking you. There's nothing wrong with you. So speak kindly to yourself and be mindful of your words, and always choose faith over fear. I hope you liked that. It was really powerful to see both Russell Brunson and Tony Robbins talk about fear. And when you're in those type of environments, the energy is just to the roof. And being in a room with like-minded people that are goal-oriented and really focused on raising each other up and giving value to the world and supporting each other and encouraging other, it really transforms you from the inside out. And so that event honestly changed my life, and I can't wait to continue telling you more about it and all the things that I learned. But this was something that I kept noticing coming up everywhere. Like, I kept seeing imposter syndrome and I never really looked into it and I didn't really identify with it. And then when Tony explained that way, I'm like, that just makes so much sense. And I thought it would be helpful for anyone that's suffering from that, because I think we all are in our own ways, just fear-based thoughts or doubting ourselves or kind of not wanting to take risks. And hearing it explained that way maybe will help you kind of relieve that stress from yourself and just be more mindful of how you're speaking to yourself. So I hope you enjoyed that episode. And as I mentioned, Funnel Hacking Live, it's called FHL. It was an experience I'll never forget. And so if you want to learn more about this, Funnel Hacking Live, Russell Brunson, and ClickFunnels, I made a website kind of explaining all about it. So if you go to www.itsavibe.ca/onefunnelaway, I'll also include the link in this description. But it's just such a beautiful community of people who are honestly so focused on delivering value to others and creating a positive impact in the world. And I really believe that being a funnel hacker is something that can actually help impact this world in a good way, because you learn principles on how to ethically do so. He talks a lot about how to start your own business and how to be an entrepreneur. That's what this ClickFunnels community is about. It's a group of entrepreneurs who are focused not just on making money, but learning how to help others. When you help others, you get paid in direct proportion to how big of a problem it is that you can solve for them. And Russell Brunson always says that your business is your calling and that you've been called to serve a group of people. And that's why I love this community so much, because everyone's focused on their service. And Russell Brunson actually teaches you how to do that in ways that actually make an impact in somebody else's life. So if you're interested in learning more about this, again, it's www.itsavibe.ca/onefunnelaway. I'll put it in the description, but feel free to reach out to me on Instagram and let me know if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to talk about this with you and see if this community could be a right fit for you. So once again, I appreciate you all. Thanks for listening, and thanks for being here and sticking around. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff, so I know you're on this journey with me. And until next time, remember, you really are just one epiphany and funnel away. Hope to see you again soon. Thanks again. Peace and love.